Hello and welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. My name is Joris and today I am here with a video about the 12 Swiss Dividend ETFs that you can find on the SIX stock exchange. And last year it was 11 plus 1 because the XSO was then only available on the German stock markets, but now it's available on the SIX as well. And there it has the ticker XSLI. And of those 12 ETFs in total, there are 9 that you can only find on the SIX stock exchange. So 3 you can find on other stock exchanges, most of the time only on the German stock exchanges, and a few also on the Italian stock market. So you have to check whether or not you can invest in these ETFs, yes or no, when you see them standing in black, because when they are depicted in dark yellow, then that means that they are only available on the SIX stock exchange. And the different indexes that you can invest in are the SMI, the Swiss Market Index. So that one contains the 20 largest companies on the SIX stock exchange. Then you have the SLI, which contains the 30 largest companies on the Swiss stock exchange. Then you have the SMIM. Actually, that should follow up the SMI because you have the 30 largest next companies on the on the SIX stock exchange. So after the SMI, so you have companies 21 till 50 in that index. Then you have the SPI, and that one contains actually all the stocks on the SIX stock exchange. I shouldn't say all because some are actually excluded, because some companies have a double notation and not all those double notations are also included in the SPI. Then you have the SPI Mid, and that contains only the mid caps, and that is the 110 largest stocks minus the 30 companies of the SLI. So you have companies 31 till 110 on the stock exchange. And then you have the SPI Selected Dividend, the CHDVD actually, which contains the 20 stocks from the SPI with the best dividend parameters, I should say. And then you have one ETF that follows the MSCI Switzerland IMI Dividend ESG Index, and that one contains 21 stocks that are divided between the large, mid, and small caps and have good dividend parameters and have a better ESG score than average on the SIX stock exchange. And that's actually an ETF of UBS. But let's go into the first ETF from the SMI. So you have 3 in the SMI, 3 in the SLI, 1 for the SMIM, 2 for the SPI, and then 1 for the last 3 indexes as well. But the first one is SMICHA from UBS. So it follows the SMI. It has a total expense ratio of 0.20%. You can buy one share for 133.10 Swiss francs. The dividends are, of course, paid out in Swiss francs here in Switzerland. You have 22 holdings in this ETF, which is an exception because normally it should be 20. And you have almost $3 billion Swiss francs invested into this ETF. It is a fully replicated type, and the past year it is up 17.5%. The past 3 years it is up 25.38%, and the past 5 years it is up 47.12%. It pays out 4 dividends per year, or if you count the one in September, which is paid out, you have 2 payouts in September, and one of those is with withholding tax and the other one is without withholding tax. But it's on the same day, so you can count them more or less together because it's one payment that you will receive on your account, on your brokerage account. So whether or not it is 4 or 5, that is up to you to decide. I just depict them both. So it pays out in March, April, and in September, and the dividend yield is 1.93%. And you can always see that I depict all the payments that they give, and then in September I also give the 2 payments that are happening on the same day. Then you have CSSMI from iShares, the SMI ETF from iShares, with a total expense ratio of 0.35%. So iShares isn't always the cheapest one, which is a bit surprising because they are one of the biggest companies on the SIX stock exchange. But yeah, UBS is actually a bit better for the SMI, investing towards the SMI. You can buy one share for 135.70 Swiss francs. There are actually, like it should, 20 holdings into this ETF. There is 2.19 billion invested into this ETF. It's also a fully replicated type, and the past year it is up 16.72%. The past 3 years it is up 23.39%, and the past 5 years it is up 44.26%. It pays out 6 or 7 dividends per year. That was last year, but sometimes it could pay up to 9 dividends per year, because sometimes it paid out a dividend in May and also one in September. So you can actually look at it like this. When they pay out a dividend in September, then that's actually the dividend payment of Logitech that they pay out. But some ETFs keep that dividend on their accounts and pay that out first in March of the next year. The dividend yield for this one was 1.35% for last year, and here you can see all the dividend payments of last year that they made. Once again, in July, on the same day they happened. Then you have the XSMI, in fact the worst SMI ETF. The total expense ratio is 0.30%, and you can buy one share for 132.72 Swiss francs. There are 20 companies in this ETF, and there is 1.356 billion invested into this one. It's a fully replicated type as well, and here you can see immediately way less performance than the previous two on the SMI. I don't know how that one is possible, but yeah, Xtrackers really is underperforming when they follow the SMI index. So the past year it is up 13.81%, the past 3 years it is up 20.15%, and the past 5 years it is almost up 40%. It pays out only one dividend per year, and that's in August, and the dividend yield is 1.47%. That's also a thing that I really don't like about Xtrackers, that they only provide one yearly dividend. And it was on the 21st of August of last year, and it was almost 1.95 Swiss francs. I shouldn't say almost, it was a little bit more than 1.95 Swiss francs per year. And then you have the first SLI ETF, the SLICHA from UBS, with a total expense ratio of 0.20%. You can buy one share for 218.30 Swiss francs. There are 32 holdings into this one, so once again, UBS with 2 shares extra in the SLI ETF. Then you have 1.4 billion invested into this ETF. It's a fully replicated type, and the past year it is up 16.87%, and the past 3 years it is up 28.63%, and the past 5 years up a little bit more than 57%. Here as well, 4 dividends or 5, because in September it pays out on the same day, and it has a dividend yield of 1.77%. Then we can go over to the second SLI ETF from Xtrackers, SLI UCITS ETF 1D, total expense ratio 0.25%. The currency on the SIX stock exchange is Swiss francs, and you can buy one share for 219.75 Swiss francs. This one was previous year only available on the German stock exchanges, and on the German stock exchanges there you can buy it in euro, and you get the dividend paid out in euro as well. So if you want to invest into Swiss companies, in the 30 biggest companies in Switzerland, then yeah, you can consider investing into the Xtrackers SLI UCITS ETF because this one performed way better than their XSMI ETF. So it contains 30 holdings. There is only 340 million invested into this ETF. It's a fully replicated type. Once again, performing a little bit worse than the one from UBS, 13.71% in the past year, up 27.28% for the past 3 years, and up 57.28% for the past 5 years. This one pays out 2 dividends per year, so not only in August but also in February, and it yields 1.24%. But look at this. It paid out a dividend in February, but it was only 0.0023 Swiss francs. So actually, should they do that and get the extra costs for only paying out 0.23 cents to their shareholders? I don't believe so. So that's actually a silly amount, and I believe they should change their policy of paying out dividends like that and go more to the payouts of UBS and iShares with payments in March, April, May, July, and maybe even September. But like this is a bit silly. Okay, the payment in August is huge, of course, with 2.7351 Swiss francs being paid out, but this number is just silly. If you only own, for example, 2 shares, you have 0.0046 Swiss francs, and when they round that off, you get 0 Swiss francs as a dividend from your 2 shares. And that means that you have on that moment more than 438 Swiss francs invested into the Xtrackers ETF, and you don't receive a thing from your ETF. That's just silly. Then you have the third ETF on the SLI index, and that's the SMIEX. A bit annoying that it's SMIEX instead of the SLIEX, but yeah, it's the way it is because I think here this one comes a bit too close to the SLIEX. But I think that iShares should ask to change this sticker to SLIEX. That would be more appropriate to what they invest in. But the total expense ratio is 0.51%, and that is also just crazy. iShares should lower that and should lower that at least to 0.25% because 0.51% is just too crazy for words. You can buy 1 share for 146.04 Swiss francs. There are 30 holdings into this ETF, and there is only 440 million invested into this ETF. And with this total expense ratio, that doesn't surprise me at all. It's a fully replicated type, and the past year it is up 13.29%. The past 3 years it is up 26.37%, and the past 5 years it is up 55.73%. It also only pays out 1 or 2 dividends per year, which is a bit crazy for iShares, and it is in June or in December, and the dividend yield is 1.23%. So last year it only paid out a dividend in June, and it was 1.79 and a bit Swiss francs. Then you have the CSSMIM from iShares with a total expense ratio 0.45%, so actually also quite expensive, but it's the only one on the SMIM. You can buy 1 share for 294.05 Swiss francs. There are 30 holdings into this ETF, and there is 1.1 billion invested into this fully replicated type ETF. Last year it was up 11.76%, so here you see that the mid caps of the SMIM actually quite underperformed the Swiss market, and the past 3 years that's definitely visible, which yeah, it proves that it's only up 6.24% in the past 3 years. That's actually crazy. It contains a lot of great companies, the SMIM, but the SMI and the SPI are just way better buys right now than in the past 3 years, past 5 years, than the SMIM. So the past 5 years it is only up 19.70%. It pays out 6 or 7 dividends per year, and you can see the dividend payments here. Actually, the last payment here in April should have been in May, but it was on the 30th of April last year. So that's why May is here between parentheses, but normally they pay out that last dividend of April in May, and then you have 3 payments in April. And then we can go to the SPI, the first ETF on the SPI, so the SPICHA from UBS. Total expense ratio only 0.10%, which is quite nice from UBS. The currency on the SIX stock exchange is Swiss francs, as all the ETFs in fact. And you can buy one share for 82.19 Swiss francs, which is also a nice price. It's one of the cheaper ones that you can buy on the SIX stock exchange to invest in Swiss companies. There are 195 companies into this ETF, and there is 1.6 billion invested in this sampling ETF. The past year it is up 15.74%. The past 3 years it is up 19.66%, and the past 5 years it is up 38.20%. UBS, yeah, it only pays out one dividend per year or two, but it's on the same day in September, and the dividend yield is 2.42%, so that's not wrong at all, the dividend yield. But yeah, only one day that you get the payment, so I prefer to have more payments. And even though the total expense ratio is 0.10%, I rather prefer then to invest in the CHSPI from iShares, because that one has also a total expense ratio of 0.10%. You can buy one share for more or less double of the price of the UBS one, 155.18 Swiss francs. It contains 202 holdings from the Swiss stock exchange, and there is 4.1 billion invested into this ETF. And I believe that's no surprise. This one also had a lot of inflows in the past year. Almost 1.5 billion entered the CHSPI ETF in the past year. This sampling ETF is up 15.74% in the past year. The past 2 years it is up 19.87%, and the past 5 years it is up 38.53%. This one does pay out 5 or 6 dividends per year, and it's in March, April, sometimes May, and then July. But this year there wasn't a payment in May. The dividend yield is 1.93%, and you can see that yeah, here you have multiple dividends. So when you invest monthly and you get a dividend in March, maybe you can buy one share extra at the end of March, then pick up extra dividends from that one share that you bought extra with those dividends. Do it again at the end of April, and then in July you get already two extra dividends from two extra shares. You get extra dividends in July, which is always nice. And that is something that I miss with the dividends from UBS or the ETFs from UBS, because there you only have one on the SMI index that pays out multiple dividends per year. And then you have the SPI Mid, so the mid cap ETF, the SPMCHA from UBS. Total expense ratio is 0.25% there. One share costs 116.96 Swiss francs. There are 81 holdings in this one. Normally it should be 80, but UBS this year is has almost always one share extra or two shares extra in its ETFs. Is 518 million Swiss francs invested into this fully replicated type. The past year it is up 9.18%. The past 3 years it is up 10.92%. And the past 5 years it is up 27.73%. Just like the SMIM, you see that the stocks in the mid cap range are actually underperforming the market quite substantially, because here the performances are actually also not that great. But that can change in the future, of course, so you never know. If you like the mid cap section, you can invest in that. You know that I don't like investing in mid caps, because the ones that are performing great, they are going to move up to the SMI or the SLI, and the ones that are performing poorly, they are becoming then the small cap, so they fall out of the index. But the ones that move up in the index, they can provide so much extra return, and you miss out on those returns, and that's something that I really don't like. So that's why I don't invest in mid-cap ETFs. Not for Swiss stocks, but also for, yeah, European stocks or world stocks or USA stocks. I don't like mid-cap ETFs, in short. So this one pays out once again only on one day in the year, in September. So you get two dividends on the 6th of September. It's 2024. I forgot to change the year here. And the dividend yield is 2.01%. Then you have the SPI Select Dividend, CHDVD, the ETF that my wife and I buy for our kids. It's the iShares Swiss Dividend ETF. Total expense ratio 0.15%. You can buy one share now for 178.76 Swiss francs. You have 20 holdings in this ETF, and there is 4.4 billion invested into this ETF. And it's unbelievable, but this ETF actually gained 2.4 billion in the past year in inflows. So this is the proof that this ETF is truly an amazing ETF, and a lot of people also think it. And if you look at the end table of this presentation, of this video, you will see that it actually outperforms all the ETFs by far. So I really like this ETF. I hope that it keeps performing like it does, because that would be great news for my kids, of course. But past performance isn't a representation for future performances. You should always keep that in mind, and that's certainly true for the SPI or the SMIM ETFs. It can change. Mid caps can suddenly pick up and outperform the overall index, but in this case, yeah, look at these numbers. The past year it is up 20.80%, 18%. The past 3 years it is up 32.42%, and the past 5 years it is up 62.28%. It pays out up to 8 dividends per year in March, April, May, and July, and the dividend yield is 2.51%. And then you have the CHDIV, the UBS Swiss IMI ESG ETF, with a total expense ratio of 0.20%, and you immediately see it in the name, in the ticker, CHDIV. So it's oriented towards the dividends, and it has 14.388 Swiss francs as a price right now, so it's the cheapest one as well. So if you are on a low budget, this ETF is yeah, probably easier to start buying into. And actually it doesn't see that much inflows. Last year it was 13 or 14 million Swiss francs that it had. Now it has only 32 million invested into it. It has 21 holdings and it's a sampling type. And in the past year, it is up 13.26%. For the rest, it isn't around long enough because it started on the 31st of March of 2023. So we have to wait a little bit over 1 year to be able to see the 3-year performance. But yeah, 13.26%. It's also not the best performance. You will see it in the overview table, and that's the next slide, I think, after this one. And it also only pays out one dividend per year or on one day in the year in September. And once again, I forgot to change the year. I changed the date because it was the 8th of September last year, but it should be the 6th of 9th month of 2024. And yeah, it's 0.51 Swiss francs that you receive, but it's also only on 14.388, so you get a dividend yield of 3.24%. That's quite substantial. It's the biggest dividend yield that you get of the bunch. But if you look at the 1-year performance, yeah, you see it here, the 1-year performance, 30.26. It's just below the SMIEX from Xtrackers, from iShares here, and that's actually not that great, but the XSMI from Xtrackers, 13.81%, so only slightly better than the iShares SMIEX ETF. And then you have CHDIV, followed by the SPMCHA and the CSSMIM. So it's on the third last place of the list. So that's not that great, but it's not that far behind a lot of other ETFs. So we have to wait and see how it performs the next 3 years to see where it will come into this table, because I ordered this table according to the 5-year growth. And look at this CHDVD, 62.28%. That's more than, it's 5% above the performance of the XSLI. And here once again, it's annoying. You have CHDVD, then you have the 3 SLI ETFs, but the SMIEX from iShares is a bit deceiving because it has SMI in its name. So it should be SLIEX. And yeah, this one, you don't like to see that as well, of course. Then you have the 3 SMI ETFs. Then you have the SPI ETFs, and then you have the 3 individual ETFs on all 3 different indexes. And iShares, yeah, it doesn't perform that well if you look at the total expense ratio. So the SMIEX has 0.51%. So don't invest into that one if you live abroad and you have access to German ETFs or Italian ETFs, because the total expense ratio is really expensive for an ETF that invests towards Swiss companies. So yeah, I should go for the XSLI DXSO or the XSMI DBXS. Those two are a little bit better. Okay, the SMIEX performs better than the XSMI DBXS, but yeah, if you are living abroad, just go for this one. But not financial advice, just my opinion. And yeah, you can see from this table which one is on top. And always keep in mind, past performance isn't representative for future performance, but CHDVD is already performing or outperforming the other ETFs for more than 10 years. So yeah, I'm really happy that my kids have this ETF for their future. And with that being said, I thank you for watching to this one. Please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Hitting that like button helps out the channel out enormously as well, because it helps out with the YouTube algorithm, the famous YouTube algorithm. So thank you for watching to this one, and see you on the next one on my YouTube channel. Bye.